Hi everybody, thank you for joining us today for this presentation on what happens to your pension upon death. I'd like to ask you to take a few seconds to read the disclaimer before the session itself starts. I hope you enjoy it and find it useful. Thank you very much. Hi everybody, my name is Abraham Ace. I'm a Chartered Financial Planner with Atticus Financial Planning. I hope you're all doing well and thank you for joining us for today's session on defined contribution death benefits. I've had a lot of these discussions about death benefits on pensions with clients recently, so it just seemed like a really good idea for a video. A key thing here is I'm not looking at the treatment of death benefits from final salary pensions. This is just going to be focused on defined contribution pensions and the recent changes in legislation. Alright, so when we look at the death benefits on defined contribution pensions, a key date to look at is April 2015, because that's when the government introduced pension freedoms. Prior to that, who you could leave your pension to was very limited, and there was some fairly hefty charges on leaving your benefits to beneficiaries. So in 2015, the government introduced pension freedoms, which was pretty useful because it meant that you could now leave your assets to any person that you wanted to. So it got you a lot of freedom there. You could leave it to your partner, you could leave it to your children, you could leave it to a charity if you want to. You had all sorts of options, and also it did away with those pretty punitive charges for leaving death benefits from defined contribution pensions. So the question then arises, what options are you actually leaving to your beneficiaries? Let's say you've got a £200,000 pension, residual pension when you die, you leave it to your partner and your children. What are the beneficiaries' options? So your beneficiaries can actually take all the money out, or some of the money out as a lump sum. They can use it to purchase an annuity, which provides them with an income for the rest of their life, or they can leave the money invested within the pension and they can draw down on it as and when they want using Flexi Access Drawdown. In this situation, when they die, if there's any residual pension, that will be passed on to their nominated beneficiaries in line with the same rules effectively. All right, so how is this all taxed? Is it actually a benefit? Well, yeah. If you die before age 75, what you leave to your beneficiaries passes to them free from any inheritance tax. There's no CGT, which is normal with pensions anyway. There's no capital gains tax. And very importantly, there's no income tax. Now, if you think about that, if you leave your pension to your partner and you're the main breadwinner, you've built up the main pension benefits and you've been relying on your pension benefits, they can either buy an annuity or draw down on that pension, and anything that they draw down will be free from income tax. So it'll be tax free. That's a really decent benefit to leave to them. If you die after age 75, then there's still no inheritance tax, which is still very beneficial. However, there will be income tax. There will be income tax on anything that they draw out, and it'll be taxed at the beneficiary's marginal rate. Another thing to bear in mind is that this does not affect the lifetime allowance. So if you have a very big pension and you die before age 75, that is what we call a benefit crystallization event. So that could trigger a lifetime allowance charge, which would have to be paid. That lifetime allowance charge obviously can be quite hefty. All right, so just be aware of that. That's not going to affect most people. Right, so the key thing to remember with all of this is that the process remains quite complicated. So unfortunately, I've had to deal with this quite a bit in the recent past. And so what will happen is that when you die, the actual pension provider will request certain information from you, okay, because one of the key supports for this whole system, which supports us in law, is that the discretion, Okay, the trustees of the pension plan must have a discretion about who the benefits are going to be left to for this no IHT benefit to apply. Right, if they don't have a discretion about who the benefits are left to, then you don't have that benefit of the no IHT. Now most pensions allow discretion to the trustees, and in 99% of the cases, trustees will go with what you've actually suggested, who you've nominated to benefit. But as part of that final process, when they're going to distribute the pension to your beneficiaries, what they will need is they'll need information. They'll need a death certificate. They'll need a marriage certificate from your partner. What they'll need is they'll need details of your will. They'll need to see your will. They'll need details of all your financial dependents, any relatives that you've still got alive, all your children's details, and then they'll assess all of that information and they'll make a decision as to whether to pay the money out. And then what they'll do is they'll confirm that the money is going to be paid out to whoever has actually been selected, whoever's you've nominated, and then there will need to be some sort of receiving scheme. They'll either keep it with the pension provider and a new pension will be set up, or there'll need to be some sort of receiving scheme, so some kind of advice at that point as well. It really is, it's worthwhile having a bit of support through that process, so worth chatting to a financial advisor. So yeah, as we can see, there's some real benefits here, some real liberalisation. You can leave the assets to whoever you want to, potentially really tax efficiently, so you're not going to lose those death benefits. There's a couple of takeaways to take from this. Very importantly, as you can see from what we've talked about, the nominations on your pension, it's really important that they're up to date, particularly if you've gone through a divorce. Just making sure that the people nominated to receive your pension are the people you want to receive those benefits. And then also, lastly, for a lot of people, the tax efficiency, particularly in relation to inheritance tax, means that what they're doing now is they're using their non-pension assets first to fund their retirement, and they're trying to leave their pension as a legacy for their children or their nominated beneficiaries, because it's far more tax efficient from an inheritance tax perspective. So if you have that option, it's worth just taking some advice on that and making sure that you're properly positioned from that perspective. All right, well, that brings us to the end of the session. I hope you found it useful. Please feel free to give me a call if you have any questions. There'll be a slide in a couple of seconds just providing our contact details. I hope you enjoyed today's session and have a great day. Thank you very much for joining us for today's session. If you'd like any further information, all our contact details are below. Please feel free to get in touch with us anytime. Thank you very much and have a great day.